All right. Now, if there are any other people, which I'm sure there are, that should be here, go ahead and drag them in. Because even if you are not a goblin, it it'll still provide a great deal of information that is valuable to you. And sometimes you might end up playing a goblin. So that's so if they're to look around, check your friendship list, and say, hey, if, if there are any crew that's not here, they should definitely be here. And doom 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 doom. And then just give a few minutes for people to appear, and then we'll take it from there. It was certainly be of import. Then we'll take a okay. Oh, Dylan Ray, I sent you a. Okay, I see you now. My apologies. Okay, so all right, I'm going to go ahead and begin, and if any other people appear, go ahead and drag them in. All right, goblins, goblins. There, as a lot of you know, there are a vast array of goblins, and but the first thing you should know is that there are three basics. Okay. All right. Since there's lots and lots of subclasses, but let's start with the three basics because these are not subclasses. These are the three general types of goblins, and everything else um, expands out from there. The three basic types of goblins are primal, overworld, and old kingdom. Okay, and the difference between those three types are the primal are more more like animals. Okay, they're not exactly, but they have a high animal intellect, like you know like like a smart dog. Okay, they also let's follow that first. So they're not going to wear a whole lot of clothes. Okay, the only reason that they wear anything is to protect the sensitive parts of their body. Okay, and it doesn't have anything to do with modesty at all. On that note, the primal types are very elemental. Okay, this is where you're going to get your ice goblins and your fire goblins, magma, and there's a vast array. They are close to the elemental, close to being elementals. Okay, you may look at them thinking, okay, you are half goblin, half elemental. That's kind of what they look like, you know. Um, a primal ice goblin is going to look like a goblin made out of ice. Okay, but like I said, they are uh, very animalistic. They don't have. Um, they may use tools, you know, but they're not going to use them very extensively. Like they might, like like monkeys and crows. Sometimes they'll shove a stick down into an ant hill to get the ants to run out. Okay, those are the primal types. Okay, now I'll do more detail later. But right now I'm giving you the three types. Okay, the second type is the overworld type. Now the overworld type are more intelligent than the primal type. They're more advanced. They're more like barbarians. Okay. They might wear clothes, but their clothes are going to be like uh, animal furs. Okay. And the more intelligent ones might have discovered weaving. Okay. These are going to be the ones that are going to dress more uh, Neanderthal. Okay. So weaving can exist. Okay. So they may have some level of tools, you know, um, but they're they're not going to do a whole lot. There's not a lot of advanced stuff with them. Okay. Not to say that that they can't have magic, because they still might, but it would come in more of the form of witchcraft, and yeah, they're like Stone Age level, correct. Um, at least what the general populace considers Stone Age. Okay, so they may have witchcraft, and and you know perhaps you might see some warlocks among them. Okay, because warlocks get their power from demons. And then there's definitely going to be shaman among them as well. The third type is the Old Kingdom variety. The Old Kingdom variety of goblin are highly intelligent. Okay. Here you're going to have bankers and uh, artisans, and here is where you get the goblin racial. Okay. The goblin racial applies to the third group. Most players are going to be part of that play a goblin are going to be part of the third group. You know, they're they have a different level of tech than anybody else. Okay. Now, admittedly, most of their stuff uh, explodes. They are not necessarily, even though they build stuff, they don't they don't have any penchant for safety. So, uh, um, let's see. Hmm. But so anyway, there's a there are a lot of things that they accomplish. Okay, they can do chemistry and build magic items and explosives. And one moment here. Okay, there we go. Okay. Um, yes. So not only do things blow up on accident, but they're quite adept at making things blow up on purpose. They're the only ones that have access to black powder. Okay. They uh, they are the only ones that use natural resources in a way that is not necessarily conducive to nature. They have okay. So let's follow this one. Of the three racial types that use energy levels, you've got gnomes, dwarves, and goblins. Gnomes do clockwork. Okay. Dwarves do steampunk. They use steam powered things. And goblins use gaslight. Okay. So they have figured out how to tap into natural resources and natural gas, oil, and burn them to provide energy. Okay. They have, but they have gaslight as their of the three. Now, as I said, those are the three basic types. Three basic types are primal, overworld, and old kingdom. All right. So let's expand past that. Okay. Once you get those, once you get that, once you got that concept, you see that there are three basic types. So we can expand past that. So aquatic goblins. Okay. Those are definitely a thing. Okay. And they can fall under, this is where I'm going with it. They can fall under any of the three basic types. If you have primal aquatic goblin, it's probably going to look like it's made of water. Okay. If you have a overworld aquatic goblin, it is gonna, it's basically gonna look like a barbarian dressed blue scaled goblin with fins and gills, and maybe even have a social order. Okay, like have some, you know, villages at the bottom of a lake. Okay, the third type, the old kingdom. Let's say you have old kingdom aquatic goblins. Now, old kingdom aquatic goblins are going to have built some type of factory city at the bottom of a lake or an ocean and be exploiting the resources that they have uh, located down there. Old kingdom goblins tend to exploit, not just explore, but exploit natural resources. Okay, so does that all make sense? Okay, you have three primary types of goblins, and past that are all the various versions. Okay, hobgoblins. Okay, hobgoblins can fall under all three as well. Right, they're bigger, stockier, um, tend to be a little bit more rotund because they eat so much. But they can they can fall under any of those three as well. Okay. Demogoblins. Demogoblins are goblins that have demon blood. Okay. And and again, they can fall under any of those three as well. Okay. A demogoblin that's primal, well, pretty much is going to look like a demon. Maybe they all do actually. But the most, okay, and not all that intelligent. It's just they're just going to be a ball of rage. Okay. Demogoblin under the overworld, they are likely either in a pact with a demon because they're warlocks, or there's some warlock in their village that has done a pact and has infected the entire village. So they are a bunch of demon infected goblins. Okay. On the third part, let's say an old kingdom demo goblin has on purpose intellectually decided to do something to acquire demon blood, or someone in their ancestral line has, okay, on purpose, okay, uh, for whatever reason that they may choose to do so, okay. But old kingdom g- goblins, they're not quite as rash or as baseline as the other two. They tend to be a little more um, thought based for whatever they're doing. Okay, like I said, they tend to be bankers or um, builders. It's up to the individuals, of course, but if you start look when you start looking out at contemporary resources, um, Harry Potter. Okay, here's one example. Harry Potter. Their goblins follow the old kingdom setup. Okay, they are um, in that particular case they're bankers. World of Warcraft. They use old kingdom goblins too. Okay, and that one you see them doing a lot of exploiting the natural resources, digging for oil, and, fracking, and things like that. Okay, but let's see, EverQuest. EverQuest tends to use the primal variety of goblin. Okay, ESO. Okay, Elder Scrolls tend to use the overworld type of goblin. All right, did that even type out? Hmm. Well, I tried to drop a message to Garp. I guess somebody said something, but I don't think that it doesn't look like it typed out. All right, now, all right, Gremlins. You've all seen the Gremlins movie, right? Okay. Gremlins are a type of goblin. Okay. they are not a type, they are a sub-race. You know, just like hobgoblins are a sub-race, okay? Red caps are a sub-race. Most, if you look up goblins anywhere and it gives you something, any of the many types of goblins. There's 20, 30 of them out there, okay? Those are sub-races, okay? And they can be any of the three. Some of them don't really work for all of them, okay? And you can look at them and know that. It's like, okay, when I look at this type of goblin, I know that they don't work so well under those circumstances. All right, but here's since we've got since Robin here is standing here, the blood cap type of goblin. Okay, they can still fit all three of them, but they're vastly different. They, but here's where you can see that significance. A primal blood cap are going to look a lot like mushrooms. They're going to look like a goblin mushroom. Okay, and the uh, the overworld type of red cap is is going to look like a white or or pale pale yellow, sometimes gray, uh, goblin that wears a big gigantic mushroom on their head. Okay, and and they'll probably live with a bunch of other mushrooms in a mushroom field. Okay, and whereas the an old kingdom type is going to be, they're going to be a little bit more advanced. You know, they're going to make use of of whatever resources are available to them. They're going to live wherever they want to, even by themselves, and they may wear a red hat. In fact, they generally do. That's why they get called red cats. But they are considerably more intelligent, you know, and that is going to be across the board. You know, when you look at you look at a goblin type and you say, okay, is what variety is this? You can generally tell by the well, let's just start with the clothing they're wearing. You can generally tell by the clothing they're wearing on which of the three that they are. And if they look highly elemental, then chances are they're primal. All right, so let's look at Gremlins for just a second, okay? Because you've all seen the Gremlins movie. Those fall under primal, okay? And if you notice in this, like in the second movie, um, if they drink something because of their elemental nature, they have extreme reactions to what they are, to what they intake. You remember the scene where they're in the science lab, right? And because of the volatile nature of primal goblin bodies, in this particular case, the sub race of gremlin, they are even more subject to their bodies are even more mutable, and so they end up vastly altering themselves because gremlins are goblins on steroids. You know, they they are a type, they are a subrace of goblin that is extremely volatile. So all that makes sense. Okay. Well, they by nature gremlins are just primal, but as you as you saw from that one, from Gremlins 2, for example, like one of them, Brain is one of the goblins. He drank a potion, and that pushed him up into into what would could be considered the Old Kingdom type. So if they had not all been wiped out, and he started a faction like himself, then they would have fit into into the Old Kingdom category. And then one of them turned himself into a girl, and she put clothes on. So if her group had, if she had started her own group, and they had followed that same line, then they would have fit in the overworld category. And so, is it possible? Yes. Um, it is possible for gremlins to be any of the three. Does that answer your question? Now, in this particular case, um, those gremlins multiply by adding water, and that's what makes the movie so wide. Actual gremlins in mythology don't do that. Gremlins do not multiply by adding water. That was a concoction for the show, which is cool. It made it made the movie fun, and it made it so that you had a in the second one you had a building, you had a super skyscraper full of gremlins, and that was the whole point, right? And also in that movie, sunlight killed gremlins. It's not Gremlins do not like sunlight. They they are nocturnal, but it doesn't necessarily kill them. It damages them, it's like, but it doesn't kill them. So that was another very fun uh, movie creation. So feeding them after midnight and placing water on them does not do anything to them except hurt. It does hurt them. You know, sunlight hurts them. Feeding them after midnight doesn't do anything to them except make them less hungry. Okay. Any other questions? On anything I've talked about so far? Demo goblins. Okay. All right, I'll get goblin mounts too. In a second, yeah. Can that happen with with other input? Well, um, I think that you mean since that's abyssal, or abyssal is demonic, and infernal is devilish. Okay, infernal, that's devils. Goblins are a little bit more on the chaotic side, but could it happen? Yes, they could um, uh, choose to be more lawful. It's not in their nature, but it does. You know, it could happen. Yes, but a wild goblin is probably going to be a wild demogoblin is probably going to be abyssal. A player may choose the infernal direction. Yes, it's possible. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? That makes them a demogoblin. But you are correct. A madcap is a demogoblin. In- Yep. A madcap is a demogoblin. It's a type of red cap that is a demogoblin. Uh, well, we can continue this to answer the question about goblin mounts. Okay. Um, primals don't. Primal goblins generally do not have mounts. Um, Overworld will do tend to, and they're going to have beasts of the forest. Um, Off most of the time, hyena. Um, that's the most common. Wargs, wolves sometimes, but wargs more likely. Okay, because wargs are intelligent, and they're considerably more brutal than than a wolf. Okay, It could happen. Now, on the for the advanced type, for the old kingdom, an old kingdom goblin can have pretty much anything they choose. You know, they can ride, you know, any anything that can be their mount. You know, like a turtle, or or a horse. You know, you know, some animals are going to be less likely to be inclined, but you know, the third type, Old Kingdom types, are intelligent enough to make alterations. They can alter themselves to fit the scenario that they are uh, intending to be part of. Okay? Venli, you see here in the room, since I'm talking about these things. Venli carries goblin jumper cables. Okay, that is an old kingdom creation. You're not going to find goblin jumper cables among the primal or the overworld variety. Okay, that advanced tech is only going to be among the old kingdom. Does that make sense? All right. Is anyone familiar with the goblin jumper cables that she carries? This is this will help you understand the tech a little bit. Okay. Yes, they are based on the ones from World of Warcraft. That is their they are based there. Goblin jumper cables can jumpstart your body so that you get so it's resurrection. But it does send electricity through your body. So she basically sets up a a car battery that that's got dials and switches on it, attaches them to you to two parts of your body, adjusts the dials to the amount she needs to use, pulls a lever and jump starts your body. Doesn't always work, but if it does, you are alive. And yes, goblin devices can't do can explode. Goblin jumper cables can be built by goblins if with enough tech. The ones that she has are artifact level, so they're not going to blow up. But anyone who does create them successfully, if you're high enough level artificer to make them, you know, chances are they are going to explode. Whereas hers, if it doesn't work, it fizzles out. You know, For others, non-artifact versions, um, if it doesn't work, the device could explode. No, they wouldn't explode the person. They would crispy char them because you're sending a lightning bolt through their body. Electric eels. That sounds like something a goblin might try. Could it happen? Yeah, it could happen. Will it work? Not likely, but hey, give it a shot. It's all good. All right. So, is all of that making sense? That was pretty clever. What's in your wallet? That was pretty good. Okay. Any questions about goblins? And yes, there are a vast array of subtypes. Just like everyone knows that there's a whole bunch of types of elves, goblins are the same way. There's a whole bunch of types of goblins, okay? Because they both those races, and there is a link between them, because they are both a fey kin, okay? A hobgoblin is a is a subrace of goblin that is, 3 to 4 times the size, okay? Um, they are generally less intelligent and more brutal. They eat a lot, so they're usually also more round. Usually their ears are not near as big either. Does that answer your question? Zeppelins, okay. Um, yeah, I, that definitely falls in goblin tech because goblins do use, uh, you know, gaslight technology. But as we already know, the the Hindenburg is a good example. They blow up, but it definitely falls in goblin tech. Goblin aircraft are more like missiles because um, they're generally one shot deal, you know, and cross your fingers you get to where you're going. You know, boom. but they can do it, you know? We have the technology. Yeah. Well, with goblin tech, good chances you're probably not even going to get to the land. You're going to blow up a mile in the air. You won't have to worry about the landing. But hey, you know what? Anything's possible. There might be a malfunction and you actually with the device and you actually make it to the other side. Then the goblin's probably going to be jump off and kick it and say, "Why didn't you blow up?" Boom. Oh. All right. But goblins are cool. They definitely, uh, they are definitely cool. I love goblins. All right. Any more questions about goblins so far? I answered the one about mounts, demo goblins. Robin actually knew what a madcap was. That was pretty styling. Yeah, you have to mark that one with return to sender. Because, it's going to blow up at some point. We all know that pretty poo is not only is it toxic, but it's also flammable. Some of the other sub races. Okay, there are a lot of sub races of goblins. Okay, um, so we can start with asking if you have a particular one that you can think of. Hobgoblin, obviously, is a subrace. There are several. Oh, you mean a pure Fey goblin variety? One that is. Oh, yes. Yep. There is a goblin subrace that is uh, that ha that it is not Terran. There are a couple of them off the top of my head. Um, uh, the Vine-Root Goblin is is uh, is from is Feywild. Vine-Root, Vineroot. Vine-Root. Vine-Root Goblin is from Feywilds. The ones that are in the Feywilds, the half dozen there that are in the Feywilds are are not Feykin. Are they're Feywild. Okay, Vine Root being one of them. The Deep Root Goblin is also Feywild. Um, the Sandbar Goblin is also Feywild. Um, the uh, Coral Bound Goblin is also Feywild. Uh, the Lava Rock Goblin is also Feywild. Uh, off the top of my head, those are the ones that come to mind. Um, that is a that's a madcap, not a. Uh, there are there are a few of the demogoblins that fall in that category. Madcap is one of them. Okay, they are not pure Fey. They're demogoblins. Celtic lore has a few demogoblins in Celtic lore. They also do have some pure Fey as well. But even though goblins are the dark side of the uh, Fey world, they are not evil inherently. Okay, they unless they have demon blood. Now they are chaos. Okay, goblins are chaos personified. Okay, but that doesn't make them necessarily evil. Okay, uh, it depends on your perception of reality, of course. To a paladin who is extremely lawful, like Pelennor, for example, um, they have sometimes have a difficult time uh, separating law and, I mean, separating chaos and evil. You know, but there are a lot of goblins in uh, in mythology that tend to do some pretty dark stuff. But most of those things, like the Swedish fairy tales, you know, um, uh, there's a lot of Nordic. There's a lot of Nordic tales that have goblins doing some really, really dark stuff. Okay, and the a lot of it is is chaos. Yes, Judge Dredd is lawful. Judge Dredd is lawful. Whether he's you know lawful, whether he's lawful good, I really can't tell you that. No, not really. But yes, the the Nordic goblins are very chaos personified. Okay, there are some that are evil. Okay, but the ones that are evil are generally have demon blood, not just they're not pure fae, and they are certainly the dark side of the fae race. You know, but that does not make them inherently evil. You know, fae can be pretty chaotic, okay, by themselves. You know, but and there's a large number of fae that are pretty chaotic. However, the uh, huge difference is that fae tend to um, have a lot more respect for life than the dark fae can, because the when the dark fae can, they tend to think in the terms of, hey, you know what, you get to start over anyway. You know, um, kind of like, okay, when you're playing a video game, right? People play video games, and when you get killed, your character doesn't actually die. I mean, they're dead, but you start over at level one, or at the at your, let's say you're playing Donkey Kong. You bing 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 bing. You get up there, and then Donkey Kong drops a barrel on you. Okay, and then you start at the and then meow 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 meow. You get to the bottom and you start over. Yep, just like in WoW. Well, that's kind of how the Dark Fae see the world. Okay, they don't. It's not that they're particularly evil. It's like, hey, you know what? Okay, um now you get to come back as a ghost and go back and pick up your life, or all right, you've you use that life. How many does what's the score? How many does it say you get? Okay, that's kind of how the dark fae look at life. Okay, they don't conceive of anyone having only one life. Okay, it's very the dark fae types don't really get that. Okay, does that make sense? Like, and you can talk to your blue in the face, and they're still not going to get it. It's like trying to convince a flat earther that the world was actually round. Okay, It's not necessarily that they are evil, but in some perceptions of reality, you can you can see that. Does that all make sense? Hmm. Okay, Gobo deities, goblin deities. Yep, that's a good question. Excellent. There are a few goblin deities. Okay, the uh, you know first one that comes to mind. First one that comes to mind actually is not a goblin. Okay, although there are going to be a few. But the first goblin, first goblin deity that comes to mind is not a goblin. It's Aphrodite. Okay, for reasons beyond my imagination. Well, actually, I'm pretty imaginative, but for reasons unknown, um, there are a lot of goblins who have chosen Aphrodite as their goddess. Okay, and it may be because she is so entirely not goblin-like. um, but it is pretty high on the list. So is Tiamat. Okay, Takhisis, the five-headed dragon. Those two are non-goblins that are very commonly worshipped by goblins. Okay, you know, then you know there are of course there is of course Bargarak, who is who is a goblin. He's a giant 8 foot tall goblin. Okay, and he's very warlike, and you know his people pretty much fall under the overworld, variety, because he's basically a 8 foot goblin Neanderthal dude. you know. But among the overworld, he is not uncommon. Okay, and Korbayag, same line. Okay, Korbayag is the goblin god of slavery. Okay, he is also among uh, the overworld type of goblins also. Okay, that was funny. Yep. But there's that actually is pretty funny, um, because that is the personality of the of a goblin deity among the old kingdom types. Okay, all right. Maglubaya. Yeah, I know that that's a mega name, so people just call him Mags. Yep, the spelling is terrible. You know, Maglubaya. Okay, but you know, Old Kingdom goblins just tend to call him Mags. All right, and he's basically Joe Pesci the Goblin. All right, and he's kind of kind of a gangster. Okay, kind of he he's into money and pyramid schemes and hey, how you doing? Why don't you come on over here? Time is money, folks. Yeah, that can happen. You know. Uh, okay. The primals. The primal deities are the elemental lords. Primal goblins use the elemental lords. If they have a god, it's the elemental lords. Um, the ether. Okay. There's also Meridar, who's basically the goblin god of art. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Spelled correctly. And mostly we're talking artifacts, you know. This is the goblin god of craftsmen, um, builders, all of his priests, are artificers. Okay, it's the goblin god of art. Okay, yep. Venli was a priest. She would probably have Maladar. Okay, and then there is Steelcar. Okay, who is the goblin god of assassins, death, um, thievery, killing people for fun. That's Steelcar. Okay, pretty close. Hey, God. Yep. And as you probably have realized, Steelcar works for mags. Okay. If if you make mags mad, he sends Steelcar after you.